Okay, welcome everybody to the live stream event of the Great Backyard Bird Count, the Waterloo Region District School Board Outdoor Environmental Education version. We're really excited to have everybody here today. This is a great event, and it's an awesome opportunity to get outside. Now, my name is Levi Moore, and I'm one of the outdoor environmental education specialists that work for the Waterloo Region District School Board. And I'm joined today with my coworkers, Sean McCammon and Al Woodhouse. Al, maybe would you mind introducing yourself?
Sure, I'm Al Woodhouse. I would typically be working at the Camp Heidelberg Environmental Education Center. Today I'm out in the neighborhood.
Excellent. Looks like a really nice day out there. And our other coworker, Sean McCammon, is joining us as well. Sean, would you mind introducing yourself?
Hi, I'm Sean McCammon. I work at the Laurel Creek Nature Center. And this morning, beautiful snow day out here. I'm on my back porch watching the birds go back and forth in my backyard. And all right, I've got another one to add to my list.
That's an excellent point, Sean. The Great Backyard Bird Count has already started for many people. So you can start your observations right away. All right. So we acknowledge that the land on which WRDSB sites are situated are the lands traditionally used by the Haudenosaunee, Anishinaabe, and Neutral people. We also acknowledge the enduring presence and deep traditional knowledge, laws, and philosophies of the Indigenous peoples with whom we share this land today. We are all treaty people with a responsibility to honor all of our relations. We only have half an hour to get through quite a lot of material, so I'm going to jump right into this. The Great Backyard Bird Count is a 4-day event that's run every February. It's been running since 2009, and last year over 300,000 people participated. And these are all volunteers. These are people who have an interest in birds, but they're not necessarily experts. They're just people who are really enthusiastic about bird watching, about natural history, about getting outside. And many of them are also really interested in conservation. So they want to do something to help birds in their community. This is a fantastic event that's being co-led by 3 organizations, the Audubon Society, the Cornell Lab of Ornithology, and Birds Canada. With these 3 partners, this is truly an international initiative. And that's pretty fantastic. It's at this point one of the largest citizen science or community science initiatives run in the entire world. If you're kind of wondering what is a community science or a citizen science initiative, it's essentially an opportunity for regular people like us to go outside and make an observation about something in our environment, in this case, birds. And then when you have some of those observations, share them with a scientist. And so both the Audubon, Birds Canada, and the Cornell Lab of Ornithology have many excellent scientists who will take those observations and try and figure out something interesting about the world. And in this case, what's happening with bird populations. So how many birds are there on the planet, of which species, and of course, where do they live? And of interest is, are the number of birds going up or are they going down? Do we have more birds or less? And with community science like this, we're able to figure out which species are in the most need or the greatest need of our help. So this is a really worthwhile initiative. And I'm really glad that we get to help, that we get to participate. And we're going to encourage everybody in the Waterloo Region District School Board to get involved this year. So you might ask, well, why do this? Why should I do this? And there are a couple of really good reasons. I think maybe the most important one is that it is an opportunity to just get outside and appreciate nature. And if you have a favorite place, that's the best place to do this. There are lots of benefits of going outside and spending time outside. one of which is it's just really good for us. It's a great way of relieving some stress and being comfortable. Another reason is that it's a chance to, challenge yourself, see how many birds you can identify and see how many you can actually find. And if you already have an interest in birds, this can just be a really good excuse to have a little competition with yourself. I often like doing this with my friends and family, and I'm really excited that I get to do this, in this remote virtual way this year with my good friends, Al and Sean. I am also a passionate environmentalist, a passionate naturalist. So the fact that I can go outside and have some fun with my friends and see some birds, and then by sharing those observations with scientists, in so doing help those birds that I love so much, that's another fantastic reason. And it is truly an authentic way to engage in science. It's supposed to be fun. It might feel like work, but that hard work that you're doing when you're outside, perhaps on a cold day like today, it's worth it, because it's not just for fun, it's also for science, which for myself, and I think I can probably speak for Sean and Al, that adds some extra meaning to the activity. Now, both Al and Sean are actually outside doing the count as we speak. So I thought we would interject our presentation 2 or 3 times and just join them where they are so that they can walk us through the process. So maybe the first thing would be, how do we prepare to go outside and do a bird count like this? So Al, maybe do you mind sharing first?
Sure. It was fairly easy for me. Because it's a chillier day out, I got all my warm winter gear going, and I'm actually making my way down a neighborhood path to the city parking behind me. I'm not doing this from a backyard. I'm taking that opportunity to explore my neighborhood a little bit. Maybe everybody at home will do that too. But I got my winter clothes ready. I grabbed my binoculars. I'm going to switch hands here quickly. I have my notepad right here that I put the date and my start time on, because we want to make sure that we're recording how long we're actually doing our bird watching. And I'm trying to, in my head, figure out, just keep track of how far I'm walking today, because I'm doing a bit of a traveling count. So I want to make sure I'm keeping track of the distance that I'm doing my bird watching in. And I don't know if you can hear behind me, up to my right, there's a male northern cardinal saying, "I'm red, I'm red, I'm red, I'm red, I'm red." So I have to make sure I add him to the list. But got my nice warm clothing on, got my binoculars, pencil, notepad, so I can take all my notes about how far I've gone and the different types of birds I'm hearing or seeing.
So Al, this is called the Great Backyard Bird Count, but you're not in your backyard. Is that okay?
It's absolutely okay. In fact, that word backyard in the Great Backyard Bird Count is a little bit misleading. You can do this from a balcony. You can do this from, like Sean is, on the back porch. You can do this by sitting at your table, eating breakfast, watching through the window, or lunch or dinner, whatever you happen to do the count. I'm doing it in my neighborhood. You can do it anywhere you want. And Levi, as you said, if you have a favorite spot, that's a great spot to go and investigate the different types of birds that you can find within that favorite spot.
Awesome. Thanks, Al. All right, Sean, how about you? Where are you at and what are you doing and how did you prepare?
Well, last night, I put out in my backyard, I put a couple boxes outside with a piece of wood on top, and I put bird seed on top to attract the birds. And sometimes it takes birds a little while to find food, but I went out this morning, I cleared the snow off, and I'm having some good success back here. Right now, I've got, you probably won't be able to see, but I'll turn my camera on. I've got a couple of juncos back here in the snow on my back there, just in front of the port, or that shed there. Right now, there's one junco on the ground, and there's one junco on the bird platform itself. And I've counted now 5 juncos, so I need to update my list. So I think the bird seed, putting out the bird seed has been a big help, here to allow me to see birds this morning. I've also got my Young Birder's Guide to Birds, because I'm youthful in spirit. So if I see a bird that I'm not sure about, I can look it up. I've got my binoculars to zoom in on birds, because I've got some bushes back here that, it's kind of, I can see a bird moving through the bushes, but, with just my eyes, I can't see it very clearly. So having binoculars is a big help. And I've made a checklist of the birds I've been seeing. And so, this is going pretty well too. Also, I've got my bag of super cherry nibs licorice. So I think I'm set.
That sounds like you are ready for a good morning.
Yeah.
How long are you going to be out for this morning, Sean?
Well, I've been out here about 20 minutes so far, and I'll probably stick it out another half an hour because it is a little chilly, but I can go inside, warm up, and come back out and go for another round.
Yeah. So we want you to do it for 15 minutes minimum, but you could go all day if you wanted.
That's right.
Awesome. And you mentioned a bird, a junco. Can you describe that for us?
Well, I've got another one. It is gray on top. It has a kind of a buffy, light-colored chest. One of them was just singing a second ago, like a high-pitched trill. Like it almost sounds like electricity going through wires or something. And I've got a house sparrow right now about to enter the porch with me. Oh, it just flew off. That would have been good for the show.
Awesome. Thanks, Sean.
Yeah.
Okay. We'll be back. So how to participate. I think that was an excellent overview. There are basically 4 steps to participating in the Great Backyard Bird Count. The first is to decide where you want to go. Are you going to do it in your backyard? Are you going to do a walking survey where you walk down the street to a park near your house? Of course, if you're going to be going, beyond your house, you should, of course, make sure somebody knows where you're going. And you should, if you are a little bit younger, perhaps bring a friend or a family member. And of course, when we're outside in our community, we should always be respecting things like private property, and we should be respectful of other people who might be out using the space, especially if you have a pair of binoculars with you. You want to make sure that you're courteous in how you use those. And of course, it's still COVID times, so we should respect social distancing and all of any rules that are apply right now. So that's number 1, just decide where you're going and prepare. Then the second step is watch birds. And the minimum is 15 minutes. We'd like everybody to spend at least 15 minutes outside watching birds, but you can go all day if you'd like. You can do it once a day, or you can go out several times a day. But if you go out a second time, if you take a break and then you go out again, you should start a second list. If you go today and then you decide you want to do it again tomorrow, that would mean that you're starting another list tomorrow as well. And you can go out as many times as you want over the duration of the count. It starts today and it goes all the way through the weekend. So it's from February 18th to February 21st. The third step, of course, is to count all the birds that you were able to identify. And that's an important part. Like if you see a bird and you can't identify it, that's okay. You can simply record that as a bird species. You saw a bird, you write bird, species, then 1. You don't know what it was, but you saw a bird, right? If you know it was a hawk, you can write, I saw a hawk. I'm not sure what species it was, but it was a hawk. We have we will link, we haven't done it yet, but we will link to a key that we made that has all of the most common birds that you might expect to find in Waterloo Region. And it's a great learning resource. It has beautiful pictures taken by our very own Al Woodhouse. So beautiful photos that will help you identify all of the birds you might expect to find in Waterloo today. Use that as your checklist. And if you print it off, the best thing to do is just mark right on the sheet. There's a little square in the corner for each bird, and you just use a check mark every time you see one. And at the end, you can count up all of your check marks and make your list. And then the last part, And this is the part that makes it into like a community or a citizen science activity, is share those observations. And we've got a couple ways you can do this. And I'll come back to that in just a minute. So here is the guide, the ID key that I mentioned. And here are all of the birds that you might expect to find on your count. Now, that being said, there are many others that you can find in Waterloo Region, and that's why having a bird book, a bird guide with you can be a valuable resource. But these are the most common ones. Let's go join Al in the field again and see if he's had any success finding some birds.
Levi, good timing. I just had 9 Canada geese fly over. They were heading north. I don't know what that tells us. But I'm looking at a bird right now. Maybe you can help me with our resource there. This bird is sort of a medium, maybe small to medium type bird. I would maybe put it in the medium category. So I'm looking at the size of it first. That helps me narrow down maybe what type of bird it is. It's blue, has a lot of blue on it. On its back, there's a lot of blue. On its front, it's kind of white. Has a fairly long tail with a little bit of white on the tip of the tail too. It's got a crest on it, so a kind of a triangle sticking up on the top of the head. Oh, it's flying. There it goes. Any ideas what that might be? Oh, I think it's a blue jay. Yeah, it's a blue jay.
Nice.
There we go. All right.
Yeah.
I don't know if that was on that list or not, but certainly if you're looking at that list, trying to figure out what birds you can use, there are certain marks on birds or features that we call field marks, like the crest on the top of the blue jay's head, the color of the body, the size of the bird. I even used a little bit of the shape of the bird to try to figure that out. Sorry, I'm moving off the sidewalk here. Somebody else is going to go by me. So that's respecting the COVID rules, of course. So I was using different marks on the bird that I can actually see on the bird. And then when it flew, it actually made like a J, so I could hear it. You can, if you know what birds sound like, if you're confident in your abilities for what birds sound like, you can use bird sound, just like I did with the cardinal and here with the blue jay, to identify birds and write them down also. Or if you know what a Canada goose sounds like, or a crow. These are ones that are fairly familiar to us, and we don't have to see them. We don't have to see them to be able to write them down. As long as you're very confident that when you hear them, you can certainly record those also, like mark them down as part of the count. So yeah, I had a blue jay fly over, Canada geese, a few goldfinches. Earlier on, I had a cedar waxwing. That looks like close to the top right on that list. It's a good birding day. Yeah, I think it's supposed to be a great weekend for this count.
Mm-hmm. I'm wondering, Al, do you think the snow makes it easier or harder to find birds?
That's a great question. I'm walking through snow that's mid-shin deep on me right now. So that's about 30 centimeters of snow, and I keep on falling through, which is why the camera's shaking quite a bit. If you have a bird feeder, like Sean, for example, he has probably had a good amount of success with birds at his feeding area, because when snow covers the ground or the trees, it makes it more difficult, more challenging for birds to find their natural food, and they tend to draw themselves towards the feeding areas if you have a bird feeder. For me, I'm walking around the neighborhood and I'm having good success. However, if I'm in areas that are sort of out in the open like I am right now, there's not much going on. So what I'm doing is I'm scanning the sky a lot to see if I see any birds flying over in this area. But I'm going to head into the areas where you see them behind me. There's some evergreens and some tangles and bushes, and these tend to have birds hiding in them at this time of year. But the snow, if you have a bird feeding area like Sean, he's probably doing very well in comparison to me. So I might try to find an area where there's some available food, either some berries or seeds in the plants, to see if I can find some birds over there. Nice.
Are there any sounds that you can make that might help draw birds in?
Oh, great question. There is one, and it kind of sounds like you're just saying psh, like that, like almost push, but without the U sound. So psh, psh. And I could try that and see if I can draw anything in. Scientists don't know why this works. There are a few theories or guesses on this, but if you make the sound psh, 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 and kind of mix it up like psh, 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 psh. I don't know if that's coming through the microphone very well, but if you make that sound, when humans know that there's something alarming, we often head the opposite direction, like, oh, I'm getting out of here. birds seem to be a little different. They tend to go towards where the alarm sound's coming from. So scientists think maybe that copies an alarm sound that birds make, and birds will tend to go and check out and say, oh, maybe I can help out what's going on over there. So that's the sound that you can make, that if you know there's a bird in the area, and you make that sound, sometimes it will pop up on the end of the branch and kind of check out what the commotion's all about. Or if you're not hearing or seeing any birds, sometimes it's a good way that if you make that sound, that psh, 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 birds will start making little chip sounds, and they'll make themselves aware to you so that you can go and check out where they are and maybe be able to identify them. So I use it in a couple of ways. Number one, to draw birds out from areas where I can't see them. Or number two, since things are really quiet out here bird-wise, I might make that sound and see if I can get any birds to make some sounds that I can then go check out what type they are.
Okay, that's some great advice, Al. Good luck with the rest of your count.
Thank you very much.
We'll join you at the end. All right, so Al just reported that he's had a blue jay, which is a lovely, beautiful bird. And over here on the right hand of the screen, you can see a picture of the dark-eyed junco, and that's the bird that Sean saw earlier. So that's a really good start on a count in 15 minutes. If you have a good spot, it's not unreasonable to expect that you might get 10 to 15 different species of bird, even on a winter day like today. Okay, so with this count, because it's a real count, it's an official international count run by these big birding organizations, you can do this count as an individual. Anybody's welcome to do this. And if you choose to participate in the Great Backyard Bird Count in that fashion, what you need to do is just go to the Great Backyard Bird Count website, and we will share a link to that at the end of this video. And if you're younger than 13, you need to have a parent or an adult sign up for you and make your submissions for you. But if you choose to participate in that way, you will also be recognized as a participant of the count, all of your own accord. The other way to participate, of course, is as a group. And the Outdoor Environmental Education Department has a group account, and we are going to collect any observations that you make as a class. So if your teacher decides to do this activity with you and everybody in your class and collects those observations, and if they're shared with us, we will send those in on your behalf for all of the WRDSB. So there's two ways to participate, either as an individual, and when I say individual, that can be you and your family, or you can participate as a group with the help of the Outdoor Environmental Education Department. Okay, let's go to Sean now. Sean, how are you doing?
I'm doing very well, Levi. I will admit, I thought when we were planning this that I might have to pretend to see birds, but I am seeing birds. This is my actual list here. So I have seen, when I first came out, 3 crows were just flying by, and I haven't seen them yet, but I know Al said that if we heard birds, we could count them as well. And so I've heard 2 black-capped chickadees, so they're on my list. I had a pair of cardinals, beautiful cardinals, sitting on my birdseed feeder there. I've had house sparrows coming and going just where I'm sitting here almost, and visiting my seeds. I had, same as Al, I saw 5 Canada geese go by. Seems a little early to start heading north, but I had 5 Canada geese. I've had the dark-eyed juncos. I just saw an American goldfinch, which my bird book alerted me that in the wintertime, they don't look the same as they do in the summertime. And so I'm glad I had the bird book, because they do look different. They molt, they change their feathers season to season. And so that was helpful. And then right now, I just saw a male downy woodpecker. Had a little red spot on the back of his head, and so I knew it was a male. And so, yeah, I'm up to 8 species, and right now I'm hearing a nuthatch over in my neighbor's yard somewhere. So, I've been out here like half an hour, and I've got 9 different types of birds. So I think things are going pretty well. my licorice is getting really hard, but other than that, the bird count's going well for me.
That's fantastic, Sean.
Yeah.
Are there any birds you expect to see that you haven't yet?
I did put out peanuts as well. And so when I put the peanuts out, sometimes I get those blue jays to come down. The blue jays love the peanuts. And so I'm expecting at some point here, I will see or hear a blue jay and maybe a mourning dove too. Mourning doves are pretty common in my neighborhood, but I haven't seen one yet.
Now, of the birds you've seen so far, do you have a favorite? Is there one that has a fun story?
Yeah, I think the downy woodpecker. I didn't even know there was I didn't even see the bird. I was looking at some other birds, and then just hopping up the tree right behind the birds I was looking at was this beautiful male with the red on its head. And that red dot, it stands out. It's an advertisement to female downy woodpeckers, but it's good for birders too. It's a good signal out there. Here I am.
Mm-hmm. And I've done some birding myself, and I know you can get the downy woodpecker mixed up with another woodpecker. There's one that looks very similar.
Yeah, the hairy woodpecker. Yeah, so the hairy woodpecker is a little bit bigger than the downy woodpecker. Downy woodpecker, hairy woodpecker. They look kind of exactly the same. The beak on a hairy woodpecker is longer. It's kind of the same length as the bird's head, whereas the downy woodpecker's beak is about half as long. And, hairy woodpeckers are more of kind of middle of a forest bird, as opposed to downy woodpeckers, which are kind of an edge woodpecker. And so in where I live here in the suburbs, I kind of expect to see downy woodpeckers more than hairy woodpeckers. I have seen the odd hairy woodpecker in my neighborhood, but downies are much more common.
Excellent. Well, it sounds like you're having a great morning, like with the crows, that dark black, and the cardinals, that bright red, and the kind of washed out yellow of the American goldfinches. It sounds like it's been a beautiful morning.
And Levi, I will tell you, my neighbor says, we don't have any birds in our backyard, but when you take the time and you just kind of settle in and you allow your ears to open up and just, stare out into the nature around you, like you notice way more than you think there'll be. Because even I'm surprised this morning that I have 9 different species and probably 30 different birds just from, being in the moment, being mindful.
Sounds very much like a sit spot.
Kind of like a sit spot. Maybe we'll do a show on that.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, thanks, Sean. All right, we're wrapping up here, so I'm going to come back to my presentation. We have made some resources for teachers, and if you're a classroom teacher and you would like to participate in the Great Backyard Bird Count, we do have a winter bird checklist that we've already shown you. That's fantastic, I think. It works really well in black and white or color. And you can make your observations right on top of it if you've printed it out. So that's a great resource to use. We've also created an information package for parents. So if your class, or if you have students that are going to perhaps participate over the weekend, we have made something so you can share some advice about how to participate in a safe way and an ethical way with parents. We also have a tally sheet for teachers so that if your students make observations while they're outside over the weekend, when they come back to class on Tuesday, you can use this sheet to collect all of your students' observations. And if you share that sheet with us, we'll use that to submit on your behalf. And there's also a Google form for submitting those as well. So if you don't want to just share the spreadsheet, you can use the Google form to send us your class results as well. So all of that to help teachers participate. And here, just to wrap up, I think we've had lots of success in the short time we've been together. So let's take maybe 1 minute each for both Sean and Al, just to describe how do they wrap up their morning when they're outside. So Al, let's go back to you.
First thing I'm going to do to wrap up is put my gloves on. It is chilly out here. My hands have been bare the whole time. But besides that, I'm going to make sure that I write down how far I've traveled. And I probably went 400 or 500 meters or so in this time. I've been walking around quite a bit. I'm going to make sure that I have all of my list of birds that I heard or saw complete. I have the date written down, and to be quite honest, I'm getting mentally prepared for going inside, a little bit of warm up, and then maybe doing another count with another list, of course.
That sounds awesome. Thanks, Al. And how about you, Sean? How are you going to wrap up?
Well, I'm going to go inside here in a second and get a cup of hot chocolate and log into that site you've directed us to and fill in my birds because I'm planning on going out again. So I'll make another list probably this afternoon. And the other thing I'm going to get is my camera because I have a beautiful male cardinal sitting posed in a little shrub, a little bush in the snow. And yeah, it looks like a picture. So I want to get my camera out too here, take a picture.
That is excellent advice, Sean. Really good idea. All right. So for anybody who's watching who wants to participate, when you are done your count, make an estimate as to how far you've traveled. Write down on your note when you finished your observations and try and figure out how long you've been out. Was it 15 minutes, half an hour, or longer? And record all that information. That's really important. Recording your effort helps the scientists with the math. So recording your effort's excellent. I think that was fabulous. And I'm really appreciative that Sean and Al took the time to go out and actually share their count with us in the two different ways that they've done it. What a fabulous event. Really love birds, really love science. A citizen science initiative like this is a great activity if you're looking for something to do on a snow day. So thank you again to my co-hosts, and thank you to the organizations that took their time to make this citizen science event happen. So thank you to Audubon, the Cornell Lab of Ornithology, and of course, Birds Canada. And I hope everybody has a wonderful day. Thanks. And I think that's it. Bye, everybody.